Hello guys. So today we are going to be working with Unit 8. This is the last unit before your midterms, and today we're going to work with the first part. It's called Never Stop Learning, and in this level we are going to discuss personal preferences and discuss ways of learning and life skills. So in here we have the grammar focus for today. In here we are going to be talking about would rather and would prefer. So I have extra information in here for the grammar. Would prefer and would rather. So we use the modal expressions would prefer and would rather to talk about our preferences in English. These two expressions mean the same thing and are synonyms for the verb prefer. So these two are synonyms for the verb prefer. So we are talking about preferences. When we say would prefer and would rather, we are talking about preferences. So here we have some examples. We can talk about present or general preferences. Would you prefer coffee or tea? I think I would prefer coffee this morning. And we can also use them to talk about future preferences. We will rather live near the beach than in the mountains. We will prefer to live near the beach. So what's the difference between these two? Because basically they mean the same and they are used for the same thing, to talk about preferences. So the differences are this one. They are basically grammar differences. So we can use prefer with a noun and also with a verb, but we can only use rather with a verb. We cannot use it with a noun. So you cannot use rather for things. You can only use it for actions because you can only use it with verbs. For example, prefer, again, I can use it with noun and with verbs. I prefer or I would prefer pizza. This is my noun. Or I can also say I would prefer or I prefer to eat pizza. So in here I have my verb in infinitive. So we have rather. Again, we cannot use it with nouns. You cannot use it for things, only for actions. So I'd rather or I would rather pizza. It's incorrect. You cannot say I would rather pizza. You need to say I would rather or I would rather eat pizza with the base form of the verb, which brings us to our second difference. For prefer, we can only use the verb in infinitive, to eat. And for rather, we can only use the base form of the verb, eat. So here are our two differences. Prefer is used with noun and verbs, and rather is used with verbs, not with nouns. The second difference is that prefer, we can use it with infinitive, and then rather, we can use it only with the base form. I'd prefer pizza. I'd prefer to eat pizza. I'd rather eat pizza. No, I'd rather pizza because this is a noun. So prefer versus rather. Prefer or rather. Would you rather study, base form, Chinese or Japanese? I would rather not study, again, base form, either. I would prefer to learn Korean, infinitive, as we see in here. Prefer, infinitive. Rather, base form. I prefer to learn Korean. So this is what we have in the book. The same. Would you rather takes the base form of the verb. Would prefer usually takes an infinitive. Both are followed by not in the negative. Would you rather take an art course or a professional course? I'd rather take an art course. I'd rather not take either. I'd rather take a language course than study art. Will you prefer to take an online course or a traditional course? I would prefer to take an online course. I prefer not to take either. Let's join a group. Let's join a study group. I'd rather not join a group. I'd rather not. So you can use the short form, I'd rather not. I'd prefer not to join a group, or I'd prefer not to. That's also good. So as you can see in here, this is the same that we just saw here. So prefer, we use it with nouns and verbs, rather only with verbs, and then for prefer we use the infinitive form of the verb, and then for rather we use the base form of the verb. And this is basically it for the grammar of today. We're gonna complete some exercises now. Either way, this is pretty simple. I hope you understood, and if not, you can always ask me. See you guys in the next class. Bye-bye.